Just wanted to give you guys a heads up maybe on this ignition system changeover on a Polaris 700 twin Sportsman. The directions with the kit were pretty good, but there are a few things you probably could help you out here. For one, definitely pull everything off the front. You're going to have to get the top rack off. That's 4 Torx bolts and then 2 1/2-inch bolts. The rack will come off. The front bumper assembly down there comes off with just 4 bolts through the side right here, 2 on each side. That comes off, and there's a couple of bolts here and a couple back here under the seat, and the whole cowl assembly comes off, and you're open to get everything worked on. You will have to take these side steps loose. The one on the right side of the machine you got to take off so you can access the flywheel cover. The one on the other side, you just need to take the front bolts loose to get the cowl off. Here's the old parts. I do have them back together, so I can't show you the new ones on the flywheel. But here's the stator and the pickup. There is a bracket that goes over this that you have to save and reuse. Point of interest one is the new one has a brown wire here that this one doesn't, with a loop on it. That has to be grounded down there. I use the bracket bolt on this side. I just stuck the bolt through the loop and then tightened it down into the bracket. That's what I use for ground. My harness did run up underneath the starter, so I had to actually remove the starter just to get the harness back under, because the connector end wouldn't fit if I didn't move it. This travels up to the left side of the machine under the starter, comes out by the fuel petcock, and up onto the top of the vehicle. This wire is unplugged right near where it first comes up through towards the top of the engine. This is your ground wire. These were the coil wires attachment to your coil. There is the black kill switch wire. That is connected up top to a connector just above where this coil was. And then the harness follows up to the front, up by the radiator. These were the voltage rectifier wires. There is 2 together and 1 apart. The new one will have 3 separate red and yellow wires. Here is the voltage rectifier. There's your split out of wires. Again, this one only had 2 wires and 2 were connected into 1. The new assembly will have 3 and 3. And I did have to use the adapter to hook mine up for the red and black wires here. My kit came with an updated rectifier, different design. Follow the instructions that come with the update. They are a little different than the instructions for the kit. Flywheel came off hard on mine. I had some rust or water issues inside the cover, and it was locked on pretty tight. You definitely want to use a good 3-hole steering wheel puller with strong bolts, and at least screw those bolts in at least 3/8 of an inch. They need to hold tight. I had to use an impact. I don't like using impact on my pullers, but I tried every other way, and there's no way I could get it broke loose. I had to pound on it with the impact for a good 15 to 20 seconds before it popped. In that said, make sure you have a good puller with a point on the end where it goes into that shaft where the nut turns on underneath here. If you damage that, your day is done. So make sure no matter what, you don't beat on that nut trying to break it loose or anything else. Use the right puller. Here is the wires that come out, the new wires. As you can see, there is a brown wire. That is the wire that I'm talking about that goes through, and you have to ground to that bracket underneath here. These raised bolts, there's 5 of these, I believe. That the black cover comes off first, and then the flywheel cover comes off with the others. This one right here is through hole drilled into the cooling jacket, so you will lose some coolant out of this. It tells you to Loctite all those bolts. I did clean them all up because they were rusty and Loctited them, but this bolt I put Teflon pipe dope on it because it went into the cooling jacket. The wires run up. You can see they go up under my starter and they come out right over here behind the fuel shut off right here. They run up by the fuel pump. This is where your first connection is going to be, that yellow and red trace wire that I said that you unplugged. That goes into this breakout right there. The other thing that needs to be noted is the coil. It doesn't really show you clearly in the instructions, but the wires should be on the outside. This coil was mounted up in here before on a flat surface. Now you have to mount it to this metal bracket that comes out. They want the washer between the coil and the metal bracket, top and bottom. The bolt goes through this way and your nuts are on the outside of the metal bracket. For the spark plug leads, you have to take the rubber end off of the inside one, because that is actually down in between the gas tank and this bracket that it's mounted to. It won't fit otherwise. That lead gets straight down behind the bracket. It comes out down here below the gas tank, circles up in front of the gas tank, and goes over and plugs on to the head. The other lead comes off straight in the front, runs behind the radiator neck, comes down here right up the side of the gas tank, and then it goes up and plugs onto the cylinder right up on that side. What I did have to find, this is probably going to be the most critical point for everybody, or point number 2 after that ground wire. This plugged right in, direct connection. I needed the jumper lead on this black and white trace, and a red and white trace wires coming out of the new ignition assembly. The black wire was already there. That was the kill switch wire, and that went right up to the one that unplugged before. But the red wire, nobody can ever seem to find. You have to use the 1014 3280 jumper on my model. This red wire is buried up inside the harness. I had to take this connector off, pull the wires out, and I found it buried up inside there. Otherwise, you may not be able to find that or figure out where that goes. Mine was plugged with dirt. I had to clean it all out good and then use the jumper to hook into it. Directions do not show you that. That is something you will need to find. The voltage regulator rectifier also was changed out. Again, follow those instructions. I did need the jumper. This jumper lead came with the kit. It has 3 wires on this one and 3 wires coming in from the new stator kit. This connection plugged up directly. Those should go in. You have to re-drill the mounting holes. You use the one mounting hole, but you have to drill it bigger, mount this, and then line it up and drill this hole. Make sure you wire tie everything back up so it's out of the way, and then put everything back together. Mine did fire right up. I had no problems. After it was all said and done, came over, hit the key, fired up as easy as that. All told, it probably took me 2.5 to 3 hours to do it. Never done it, doing it before. I would say now that I've done it and know how to do it, I probably could do it in 45 minutes, maybe an hour if everything came apart easy. I hope this video helps. I couldn't find anything when I was trying to do this. Instructions are good, but it does not tell you anything about that brown ground wire or that red wire up top. So hopefully this will help everybody out. and they can get riding as soon as they get out, get it fixed. Thanks.